Hello, and welcome to the W.A.I.T channel. What Am I Thinking? A podcast where two sisters share uplifting conversations on fun and sometimes serious topics.
Join us each week by clicking the notification bell and subscribing to our channel. If you enjoy the show, use the share link. It's one of the best ways to expand the conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the W.A.I.T channel, What Am I Thinking? Today we're going to discuss one of our favorite Bravo shows, Southern Charms. I'm going to let you go ahead and take the lead on this because we're at episode 2 now. And we're pretty much going to combine what happened with both of those episodes. Stick with us until we get to the end because we've got some very juicy commentary regarding some castmates. All right, take it, Tracy.
Well, the way I would like to do it is I kind of call this entanglements. And so a lot of this show was centered around Austen and Taylor. Did they, didn't they, sleepover kind of thing. So I want to go back and share just a history of the Southern Charm entanglement. So hang in there with me. So Craig liked Catherine, but he moved a little too slow. Then Catherine and Shep had a hookup, which we were not totally aware of. Catherine and Thomas got together, and unbeknownst to us, before filming and before Catherine and Thomas, there was Catherine and Whitney. And Thomas and Catherine have 2 babies. So that's a pretty involved relationship. But after they have these 2 babies, Whitney and Shep both go back and hook up with Catherine again. So Shep cannot be comparing 2 kids to his 3-year bumpy relationship as you shouldn't go there. But there's more. Danny and Shep had a relationship before season 1, but then Thomas tried to talk to Danny and have a relationship. And then if you remember, Landon, she had eyes for Shep, but he wanted to hit it and quit it, and she wasn't about that. But then Thomas goes and tries to woo Landon with Patricia in the background putting it on, but it didn't work out. But let's keep going. Chelsea was set up by Cameron with Shep, but when Shep was typical Shep and it ended, Austen went right on and started dating her. It got weird for a moment when a drunk Shep tried to step to Chelsea, but then they got over it. So let's move on. Madison says the Shep tried to talk to her, which he downplays and maybe even denies. But then Austen and her got together. And then you have Pringo, a friend who came to the friend group, and he and Madison tried to hook up for a minute. Then you have Natalie, who was an ex of Austen's, supposedly, and she ends up dating Craig during the pandemic. And then most recently, you have Whitney, who gets with Craig's long-term girlfriend. We're not talking a short relationship. Long-term girlfriend, Naomi. And when Craig kind of was not happy about it, they were calling him a whiner for caring. So let's just say this. Double standards, hypocrites, boys with privilege, they play by different rules. So, you know, when you have Shep, Whitney, and Thomas, they have their own code. And it says no one is off limits for us and even between us. But for Austen and Craig, who don't have the same silver spoon in their mouth, they better not even try it. So that's kind of where I am with the entanglements. And that's why I'm not even moved by whatever may have happened or probably maybe didn't happen between Austen and Taylor. What about you, Lori?
Um, girl, you took some good notes, is all I have to say. It's really sad. It's really sad. I watched, which I rarely do watch because I don't want to give him my ratings right now, watch What Happens Live. And I saw that show that it followed the episode 2 of Southern Charms. And I was very disappointed in one of the games that they played at the very end where they were talking about boy code or male, whatever you want to call it, and how the individuals that you talked about did not in any way show up in that lineup. Now, no, we will never be able to defend Jax and all of his shenanigans, and yes, he probably does deserve that number 1 spot. But the way Andy...
don't know, Jax is infamously from Vanderpump Rules.
Right. But the way that Andy brushed over it, I was very disappointed in that. And the way that they continue to allow or downplay Shep's behavior, I do think there's a bit of classism in there. And how he is given a pass on his behavior, Whitney is given a pass. We see it with the way, even in that episode, how... the episode 2, how Patricia, she talked about her own son and the fact that he will never find someone significant because he is fixated with 20-some-year-old models. So even in that statement, all right, so you see him, a serial dater, not being with anyone. What's going on with these young women? Are they aware that they're dating a serial dater and not someone that's going to take them seriously? They just brush over it and no one confronts it. And the last thing I'm going to say with regard to that, in episode 2, when Leva was speaking to Taylor had gone to her restaurant. She has given up her job so that she could travel the world with Shep, comes back,
turned out.
And she's trying to go into sales, and oh my goodness, watching her, it was the most painful thing to watch.
Yes, it was horrible. Yeah.
And I was...
she can't get better, but that was a very rocky start.
That was a very rocky start. And I'm going to, I'm just going to chalk it up to her nervousness had to do with the fact the cameras were rolling. So we're going to give her
that. Give her that. But when you say, do these girls know they're dating a serial dater? Anybody that dates Shep knows that. Anybody that dates Whitney knows that.
But you got to know, Tracy, I'm not going to say it. I'll say for your older woman. We're talking about young, naive, 20-something-year-old girls who look at
one.
Exactly. They think they're the one.
I would say they don't. I'm not going to say they don't know, but I think they feel like I'm going to be the one that's going to be different. And that's what Taylor thought. Taylor thought she could pray him through to be her beau and her knight in shining armor, and it was going to all work out. Well, the thing that I would ask those listening to do is, I don't think the slant of privilege, because look at it, Thomas, Whitney, and Shep, all three have done this and gotten away with it. But when Craig and Austen have even dipped a toe in it, well, Craig didn't dip a toe in it. He just was hurt by it. When
he was brave enough to call it out.
He was brave enough to call it out. They are just chided, and it's just horrible. So I've seen other people break down the entanglements, but they don't necessarily tie it to this privilege angle. So I want anybody listening, share this. Let other people be aware that this is not just about breaking bro code, because in reality, it's a different code for these boys of privilege. And I want to shine a light on it. I want to call it out. I want to say way that it's not okay. And we get more of that idea and see it from Shep when there is a comment of him saying, Shep saying, girls want careers. What? Girls want careers? Yeah, women want to have a career. How dare, in his mind, how dare they want to have a career? You know, I think that's in a clip coming up for maybe episode 3, maybe, where he's having that conversation. I'm like, or did he say it in episode 2 to Craig?
I'm not even sure. And if he said it in episode 2, it went by me, because there is sincerely something off with Shep. It is. I mean, and his cousins to date, you know, aside from Craig in his nice way, because they're friends, he's never going to come right out and say it. But his cousin last season summed him up. And
which notably, she's nowhere to be found. She got silenced. And I think, you know, and that's why I say you can see Whitney's producership all behind a lot of the way things play out. He has not been a fan of Craig because Craig is a truth teller. And he always tries to, at times, kind of dim his light and not show him in the best light.
They wanted him, Craig, what he thought was going to be their jester. And
yes,
he proved them wrong.
Exactly. I agree 1,000%. And so I'm not a huge fan of Austen. And so would it have been better for him to talk to Shep and say, hey, I'm really kind of exploring a possibility of a relationship with Taylor. You know, how do you feel about that, or something? Well, that might have been the gentleman thing and the big friend thing to do. But to say any of them have done it that way, no, they have not. So don't hold him to a standard that you yourself have fallen short of. And I get it for Shep. He says it in the episode. This is my longest relationship. Oh my gosh, he's growing up. He's having feelings, you know? And I thought it was funny that they said he was using Austen's to keep tabs on Taylor. You don't get to do that. You don't get to do that. And guess what? Surprise, spending so much time together, already kind of having a little relationship, a good friendship. Most relationships come out of friendships, idiot.
I'm not even really sure how I feel moving forward, how Olivia is going to tie into all of this. And because I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to, again, dismiss the male behavior and focus on Taylor and her relationship with Olivia.
Right. And Olivia gets to have some feelings. However, your dalliance with Austen doesn't register compared to some of the other, you know, relationships and things that have played. Because I think Olivia was one of the ones that was kind of telling Craig to get over it when he was not loving the fact that Naomi had hooked up with Whitney, you know?
So again, that's her. You know, we're learning more about her background, her trust fund, the world and life that she has lived in. And so you have to say to her, if you are going to play a part of this game, then you can't behave in a negative manner towards your girlfriend when she does the same thing that you're excusing with the men.
Right. Yeah, it's a sense of entitlement there on her part too. And it's sad. It's sad that that's the way it's going to play out. And, you know, her and Austen gave it a go. It didn't work out. And
Tracy, I wouldn't even call that giving it a go. I don't even think that Austen at this point in his... No, he really wasn't. I think on paper to him, it looked good because of things that had happened with Winter House things that had happened with Summer House, and I think that how he entangled himself with Lindsay and Sierra, he wasn't looking good.
Yeah, he needed a refresh.
And that's what I think Olivia was all about.
Yeah, I agree.
But who I'm here for though? Who I'm really here? Jared Thomas. Oh, did he, when they did the beer crawl or the bar crawl, how he did not let Shep off the hook. How could you?
When you said Jared, that threw me off because they've been calling him JT, right?
Yeah, JT.
Yeah. Okay, because I was like, Jared, who the heck is that? Okay.
You know, I got my list of names here.
Yes, JT.
So it's not what you call it, and you know who.
Yeah, but I'm loving the infusion of Rodrigo and Rod, and I think they're going to add something, a different spin to it, and hold these guys. I think they're going to be the ones to hold these guys accountable in a different way. Because if you heard at the table when JT and Rodrigo were talking about Austen said some glowing things about Rodrigo, but Rodrigo was not as kind back to Austen in his reference to him.
Yeah.
So I love the honesty of it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, Lori. I once again implore those who heard that entanglement breakdown and the history, let's hold Shep, Thomas, and Whitney to a whole nother level of accountability so that they don't just continue to drag those who they feel are less than entitled in the way they are. And let's call it out for what it is. And let's make sure that anybody that has ties to Bravo, any 6 degrees of separation, let's hold their feet to the fire and make them truly be account. And I don't think Austen and Taylor should be hung on the stakes for this. I really don't.
I agree. But it's going to be interesting to see this play out. You said it very well that Whitney, how he is doing his producer role very, very well. And I just want to say something that, it took me, I giggled a bit. The scene where Whitney was in the house with his mom, Patricia, and she's sitting on the sofa with her streaks of blonde in her hair. And Whitney is struggling with this chair, talking about the antiques and how she doesn't have them redone and going on and on. So he stands up and he's moving and fluffing the pillows. And his behind and them old man pants that he had on and the way it was bagging, I'm like, dude, act your age. It's like, clearly, you're an old guy. It's time for you to act your age. This playboy persona that you have, that you think you are all that and a cup of tea. Oh my goodness. Right. I just laughed. I'm like, look at you.
And how he continues to try to make himself and Patricia be relevant when they are truly story adjacent. It's really... would somebody miss some of Patricia's little sayings and flares? Maybe, but it's really not necessary. Let her throw her season party and let that be it.
I agree. I think that we are moving most definitely in that direction. If this show continues to remain relevant and on, that it's time to just go ahead and phase that out with the yearly party.
I agree. We didn't get to talk about some of the other people, Vanita, and really much on Madison or Level, but that's okay because this was focused on entanglements and how they're trying to portray what Taylor and Austen did as this huge, unforgivable thing, which compared to other behaviors and the history on this franchise, they can't really do that. So go ahead and close us out, Lori.
So let us know what you're thinking. Let us know whether or not this this bit of information slipped by you all of these years, and it is something that you hadn't.
Share the link with other people so they can know what we are thinking.
So we'll keep watching Southern Charms. If you haven't, I encourage you to tune in. It's a good watch. And listen in for future updates and commentaries on this show. And make sure that you comment and let us know how you feel about this discussion. Give us
and subscribe.
Yes, please subscribe. Hit that link to know when we upload. And most importantly, make sure that you tune back in next week to know what we are thinking. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely ours and should be taken as such. Our thoughts are intended purely for entertainment purposes. Please do not take anything we say as fact or advice. Thank you for listening.